open the door of heaven and hell.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about 28 years later, the Bone Temple. As Spike is inducted into Jimmy Crystal's gang on the mainland, Dr. Kelson makes a discovery that could alter the world. Now guys, right before we get into this review, I wanted to dedicate this video to my late grandmothers on both sides of my family, the late Conchita Agbanawag and the late Cosmeden Tasani, who have definitely lived full lives and have been a strong matriarch for the first generation of our family to come to Maui, to come to America. Bless their hearts. And in the words of Ralph Fiennes in the 28 Years Later movies, memento mori. Remember, we must die. So getting right into it, this is the fourth installment to the 28 franchise, part 2 to the 28 Years trilogy. If we do get that third movie, of course, I'm not trying to jinx it. It's just that where they did shoot these last two movies back to back, we are still to this day waiting if we are going to get a confirmed third movie. Here we pick up directly where we left off in the last movie, getting introduced to Dr. Kelson and his Bone Temple, as well as Sir Jimmy Crystal and his gang of Jimmies. Now, while the script is very much Alex Garland's baby, Danny Boyle has definitely handed over the directing reins to Nia DaCosta, who has definitely delivered the underappreciated The Marvels and also the spiritual sequel to the 2021 revival, Candyman. And I'm pretty sure she did another movie with Tessa Thompson earlier this year, but I can't for the life of me remember what that title was. DaCosta didn't necessarily get a lot of the credit where credit was due, especially when it came to Candyman, because people thought that it was Jordan Peele's movie when he was solely the producer. And then Marvel pretty much threw her under the bus when it came to her MCU entry, especially with the way that they gutted it just to fit their convoluted ideas in the multiverse. The opportunity that Danny Boyle gives DaCosta here allows her to flourish and showcase her talent behind the camera. And although this franchise has remained consistent, she has definitely left her mark and has pretty much made this entry her own in the best way possible. We are in an era where studio heads, creatives are just overly confident in just pre-announcing their planned franchises, their planned trilogy, before they even dish out the first movie to get everyone excited and pumped up in the first place. And it's got me worried about the quality of storytelling. I mean, take for example, I really enjoyed 28 Years Later. I know a lot of people were mixed on that last movie, but that's just how I feel. And I look forward to what we're supposed to get further down the road with this franchise. And then we have the Strangers reboot trilogy, which I've been devastatingly disappointed with the last two entries, and it all came down to expectations and what I ended up getting. See, I say all this because I have had a slew of bad luck when it has come to the second chapter of a trilogy, and it's been a long time since we've gotten a good one. So after seeing The Bone Temple, I'd have to say, this was an absolute fucking banger. While 28 Years Later juggled a buffet of wild ideas, threw everything against the wall to see what stuck, DaCosta's direction here is a lot more focused. We are zeroing in on two conflicting narratives led by both Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell. Now, I know there are fans of the frenetic and stylistic choices of Danny Boyle, especially when it comes down to the tone, the visuals, the techniques behind the camera, but there is something cleaner, smoother, and sharper when it comes to DaCosta's vision here. And I'm totally on board when it comes down to the necessary risks, the shift, the evolution for each installment to kind of have its own distinctive flavor, but also remaining consistent. Getting into the talent here, Ralph Fiennes leading this installment as Dr. Ian Kelson was everything that I asked for after his introduction in the last. And although I was very unsure about his character and his motivations, you really begin to peel back a lot of the layers to see who he was and also understand what he sets out to do. Other than being strategic and stoic, he's actually a funny guy who enjoys music, who craves companionship, finds his emotional talent from start to finish is just nothing short from extravagant, and the much more metal performance that he throws himself into, especially in the third act, just left everyone's jaws on the floor. Now, if you feel like you never got enough of Jack O'Connell in Sinners, prepare to be completely smitten by his latest villainous persona, Sir Jimmy Crystal. How's it? I might have did that wrong, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I know that their introduction at the end of the last movie may have come off very overly silly, but this entry does not fuck around when it comes down to what they're capable of as far as spreading their reign of evil. There is a sequence in a barn. I'm not going to give away what it is, but what happens there pretty much matched the knotted dread in my stomach the same way when I was watching The Devil's Rejects. He may not be the one holding the knife, but the way that he projects his beliefs, his ideologies, and his fascination with the Teletubbies makes him conniving and dangerous. I mean, Jimmy's just the guy you'd love to hate, and when he finally crossed paths with the Doctor, it went in a way that I wasn't expecting, but I definitely was satisfied with how it transpired from there. Chai Lewis Perry reprises his role as Samson, aka the Alpha, and surprisingly enough, he is given significantly more to do here. And not to give too much away, but I adore a lot of the scenes that Samson and the Doctor get to share. There is a glimmer of life, humanity, and friendship that Kelson is desperately trying to grasp when it comes down to Samson, and it does parallel with what the Jimmies are up to, where they're spreading fear and taking lives. And I know not many people are going to take a lot more of the sentimental moments with Samson seriously because the anaconda between his legs is just hanging out, but you can appreciate some of the collateral beauty beyond that. Getting into my mixed opinions, Spike, played by Alfie Williams, and unfortunately enough, he falls victim to middle chapter syndrome. Just like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween Kills, although he is the main character in this through line of a story, he definitely takes a back seat with no character arc to work with at all. Although there are tropes and directions that do feel very familiar and reminiscent to The Walking Dead, I did find it a little hard to believe that Sir Jimmy Crystal were to take it easy on Spike at every turn that he had to test his loyalty with the group. I mean, I wish that there was a little more stakes because it did feel like Spike had some plot armor. It would have been interesting to see the odds go against Spike, especially with the way that he had no choice but to join and become one of Jimmy's fingers. And although that might have been a safe bet, he did not hesitate one bit to replace anybody whenever he saw fit. Due to the tone of the final product, just focusing on the brutal nature and the remaining clutches of humanity, I did feel like the cliche jump scares stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, again, especially with this particular story and installment, it is not scary anymore. This is more dramatic and it's more intense, especially with some of its more thought-provoking ideas. And I feel like they had to shoehorn in a lot of these random jump scares in order to remind everyone that, yes, it is a zombie movie. And, you know, the next little note that I have, it's not necessarily a criticism, but it's more like open questions that I had, especially pertaining to some of the ideas that were brought to light in the last movie, but were never addressed here. I mean, for example, what's going to happen with the baby that was left at Spike's village? Where is Aaron Taylor Johnson in all this? I know him and Spike had their qualms and everything in the last movie, but after all this time, you'd think that a father would be out there looking for his son, reuniting with him in any way, shape, or form. Overall, regardless of its shortcomings, this is definitely one of the first best movies of 2026. Just like Sinners, that third act is going down in history as absolute cinema. If you are looking for a more traditional zombie movie, you're not going to find it in this franchise moving forward. There is an endless catalog out there already. But if you are open for a character-driven, emotional, intense, and wilder ideas within the post-apocalyptic genre, this film is for you. Well, alright guys, that's all I got to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. Look forward to more reviews. I am Jaren Agbanawag, and I want to thank you guys again for taking some time out of your day to hear me talk some movies. I'll see you guys at the theater. In the meanwhile, take care.